Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hello. Hello, you historical people. Hello. Hello. Hello, Ken. How are you doing? Oh, that's right. How are you? There we go. There we go. We're starting to get quiet. Oh, now, all right. You got it. I'm looking. The sound's okay. This is great. I got to tell you, this is a very new experience for me. And you know, yes, we are. I'll do my best. I want you to know there's a prayer up here. I'm not, if I read it, I'm sure the roof will fall in. But I'm absolutely positive that this is a well-constructed building, because my friends are certain to say if Clay Henderson were ever behind a pulpit of a Presbyterian church, the roof would most certainly fall in. And so here we are. So I welcome you. I welcome you on behalf of the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation to the 37th Annual Awards ceremonies in conjunction with our organization. We do this every year. It is a pleasure for me to be part of this the last several years. Everyone who is here, you know, it's always say you're all winners. You are all winners. And we are all winners too, because of the things that each of you have done to advance the cause of historic preservation in your communities and throughout the state of Florida. It is to our all collective advantage. We are gathered here in the First Presbyterian Church of Tallahassee, which would be redundant because it's the First Presbyterian Church in Florida. It is the oldest continuous building in use in the state of Florida. And as a matter of serendipity, this church was sanctified, if that is the correct term, on this date, May 13th of 1838. And so do the math. You know, this church is older than everyone in this room. And it occurs to me the only times that I have been in this church are for funerals. And so, you know, to be here with a group of people with all smiles is very, very special indeed. So we are grateful to the church for allowing us to do this here, and we're grateful to allow them to show it off to the historic preservation community in Florida. I hope that everyone who has been part of these events the last few days have had as good a time as I have. How about it? Have you had a good time? There we go. Start the wave. This has been great. We appreciate our hosts, our sponsors. I think I saw, is Mark Tarmy here? Did I see Mark? Mark is waving back there. Mark is one of our co-chairs. And Ann Perry, who's hiding up here, is one of our executive director, who have really been our host in pulling this together, and we're very appreciative. And Heather is, I don't see, and Heather is waving too. Heather Mitchell, one of our other co-chairs. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And we're also appreciative of our sponsors. And tonight's sponsor is the Leon County Tourist Development Council for their grant in support of this conference and our participation here. And this is the way that we all give back to the community. So this is extraordinary and extremely important. So we're here tonight to honor you and honor your commitments to historic preservation. We're here to, as part of our conference, to acknowledge the fact that this is the 50th year of historic preservation, the Historic Preservation Act, the National Register Program, the role of the National Park Service, and the way that it's changed our states and our communities throughout Florida. It is a time to celebrate our successes and recommit ourselves to the work that is ahead for us. In addition, because we're in Tallahassee, we're going to do something a little special tonight. Secretary of State Ken Detzner is here and will also be presenting awards on behalf of the Division of Historic Preservation. So this is the first time that I'm aware that this has taken place, and we're honored to be able to do that together and in tandem. Now with that, I wanted to say part of the task at hand tonight is to roll this through as quickly as possible, because usually everybody knows we have a really good party after the award ceremony. And so I do not want to be, and Frederic does not want to be responsible for holding up this party, because we're all going to have a good time over at the museum. I'm looking forward to it. I understand there's some wonderful things for us over there to see and do when we get there. So I'm going to just sort of spell out a little bit of the rules tonight so we can get through this, because we've got a lot of great awards to go through. But Frederic will be rolling this through. And when she begins to introduce the award and the recipients, we ask you to come forward and to come to this area here. There will be a trustee who is responsible for getting you in the right position and getting the award handed to you. And then that person will escort you to this other side of the aisle where the photographers will memorialize this event, and then we'll roll on to the next one. And so maybe the first or second one will have a few rust spots, but by the time we get through it, we're going to have this in good order, and we will get you through this in great time. So with that, I thank you and welcome you, and it is also my job to, in fact, announce the awards jury that came up with these wonderful winners tonight. And if you were present, I'm going to ask you to stand, and that would include Bert Bender of Key West, Jenny Wolf of St. Augustine, Linda Stevenson of Bradenton, Tom Johnston of St. Petersburg, Randy Lewis of Tallahassee, Amanda Skyer of West Palm Beach, and their chair, Frederic Mentor, and we appreciate your work to get us to tonight. And with that, I'm going to bring Frederic Mentner to the rostrum. This is great. Say hallelujah, Frederic. And Frederic is the chair of the committee. She is the vice president, and I look forward to the day when she succeeds me as president of the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation. So this is the prayer. Now, let's get it straight. There's a script, Frederic, and this is the prayer.
Got it.
Don't get them confused.
Okay.
All right.
And of course, I need my step stool. Thank you, Clay. When I was first asked to MC tonight's award ceremony, I thought, oh no, how am I ever going to follow Clay? He has such an amazing stage presence, as we all agree, and I don't own a seersucker suit, more importantly. So I thought, well, I'm come from West Palm Beach, or Palm Beach, and so I'm going to wear my lily tonight. And even more important than our fashion choices that reflect the unique parts of our state, it's the pride we have in the architectural heritage, and that's what we are to celebrate tonight. So we're going to get started, and the first category is the Restoration Rehabilitation category, and it is the renovation of the Orlando Amtrak station. Designed by architect M.A. Griffin, the Amtrak Orlando station was constructed in 1926 for the Atlantic Coastline Railroad to extend the reach of railroad service to the burgeoning Orlando community. The station, with its stucco walls, limestone capped parapets, and twin dome towers, exemplified Spanish mission architecture, but over the years it had fallen into disrepair and decay. The Collage companies restored the station to its former glory. Renovations included the complete restoration of the exterior facade and twin domes, replacement of the historic windows, doors, and wood trim, stucco repair, tile roof repair or replacement, painting, hardscaping, landscaping, and electrical and mechanical upgrades. The Collage closely coordinated this work with the owner of the building, FDOT, the user of the building, Amtrak, and the City of Orlando's Historic Preservation Office. This project is recognized with an Outstanding Achievement Award in the Restoration Rehabilitation category. Unfortunately, representatives from the project were unable to attend tonight, but please join me in recognizing their achievements anyway with a round of applause. Florida Trust trustee Jody Rubin will present the award to Richard Forbes, who will be accepting on their behalf. The Umbrella House Rehabilitation and Shade Structure Reconstruction is located in Sarasota, Florida. The Umbrella House's innovative design redefined the American home for the subtropical climate in the post-war era. Designed by American architect Paul M. Rudolph in 1953, the home's most important character-defining detail was a large exterior shade structure that stood above the house and exterior living spaces. The original umbrella was damaged during a windstorm in the early 1960s and removed. Numerous earlier attempts to reconstruct the umbrella failed. A rehabilitation and reconstruction program for the Umbrella House was developed by Hall Architects. The completed project is open to the public by special arrangements, so make your arrangements, to allow today's visitors to experience one of the nation's most important residential buildings and one of our most significant examples of regional modernism. Florida Trust trustee Lori Muldowney is presenting the Umbrella House and Shade Structure Project with an Outstanding Achievement Award in this category, and accepting is Gregory Hall Architects. Village of Biscayne Park Village Hall Log Cabin Restoration. Who knew there was a log cabin in South Florida? This meticulously restored structure is unique in its original design and purpose. Dedicated in 1935, Village Hall was a project by the Federal Emergency Relief Program and is indeed the only log cabin municipal building in Florida. Throughout the structure, Dade County pine logs were visible, including walls and structural roof supports. The roof was clad in wood shingles with Oolithic limestone veneer on the chimney. It was encircled by a wraparound porch that included porch railings and protective screening. The restoration team worked closely throughout the project to attend to every detail. Led by historic restoration architect Richard Heisenbottle and the village manager, every decision was carefully weighed as to its impact on the historic preservation of the project. The restoration was completed by Mackenzie Construction and Intensified Wood Restoration of Michigan. Florida Trust trustee Marty Hilton is presenting the award to the Village of Biscayne Park Village Hall Log Cabin with an Outstanding Achievement Award in this category, and accepting it are Commissioner Roxana Ross, Village of Biscayne Park, Hector Gonzalez, Mackenzie Construction, and Lee Denman, Intensified Wood Restoration. City of Fernandina Beach Train Depot. Fernandina Beach played an important role in the early development of Florida's railroad system, and the City of Fernandina Beach Train Depot, originally constructed in 1899, is one of the most significant existing reminders of this period of the community's history. Unfortunately, the structure had fallen into disrepair over the years and was in critical need of restoration and rehabilitation. Following a thorough restoration in 2014 and 2015, funded through a public-private partnership involving the City of Fernandina Beach, the Amelia Island Fernandina Restoration Foundation, and the Amelia Island Tourist Development Council, the train depot once again represents the pride of the community, acting as a hub for visitors coming to Amelia Island from all over the world. Florida Trust trustee Jenny Wolf is presenting it to John Miller, the mayor of Fernandina Beach. Gulfstream Goodwill in Lake Worth. The Homes at J Street is a 4-building restoration project that contains structures of different ages and architectural styles. The 3 oldest homes are in the Florida vernacular style and were restored with care to match existing materials and historic methods. The 1939 2-story Deshawn apartment building was designed by G. Sherman Childs, a disciple of Addison Meisner. It has characteristics of both Art Deco style and the modern style. The complex now serves as homes for Gulfstream Goodwill Industries clients who are transitioning back into the workforce. Rick Gonzalez, AIA of REG Architects in West Palm Beach, and Straticon Construction Services of Stuart, Florida, was the general contractor for the project. Bert Bender is presenting this meritorious achievement in this category to Rick Gonzalez. Pensacola Lighthouse Restoration, Tower Restoration. And there's going to be a few of these actually for Pensacola Lighthouse, so this is just the first of a few. The Pensacola Lighthouse has been watching over Pensacola Bay and its navigators for over 150 years. By 2013, the tower had seen some minor restorations throughout history, but it was in desperate need. Was in a desperate need for intensive restoration work. The members of the Pensacola Lighthouse Association, who began maintaining and operating the lighthouse property for public visitation in 2008, took the responsibility of restoration upon themselves. 350 linear feet of cracks in the walls were stabilized and filled. Detrimental paint was removed and replaced with a new paint that is safe for historic masonry, and a set of non-historic brackets were removed from the tower's exterior. Naval Air Station, Pensacola Cultural Resource Officer, and architects were consulted throughout the project, and all efforts were made to maintain the historic integrity. Rob Overton is going to be presenting this award to the for the Pensacola Lighthouse Tower project with a meritorious achievement to Ken Smith Architects and Jessica Morgan on behalf of the Pensacola Lighthouse Association. And John Hill as well, excuse me, John Hill and Jessica Morgan, both on behalf of the Pensacola Lighthouse Association. Princess Place Stable Restoration. Princess Place Stable is part of the Princess Place Preserve, constructed between 1887 and 1888. The 1,500-acre preserve is located in Flagler County at the mouth of the Pellicer Creek. The property was acquired by Flagler County in 1993 by a State Preservation 2000 grant and county funding. Princess Place Preserve is now a natural resource conservation area open to the public daily. The stable is part of the Princess Place House Museum complex. The stable was in poor condition prior to restoration, with foundation deterioration and settlement, deteriorated wood framing and siding, termite damage, missing components, and a leaking roof. It was racked out of plumb and leaning about 6 inches. Concrete foundation walls were the only remains from the original north building wing. The stable structure was carefully lifted off the foundation, and new coquina concrete foundations were poured over new footings. Deteriorated wood framing was repaired, and the stable was lowered back down onto its new foundation. The north stable area was reconstructed based on remaining foundation walls and a historic photograph. Heidi Petito, General Services Director, and Mike Dixon, Assistant General Services Director, led the project for Flagler County. Restorations were designed by Kenneth Smith, Architects of Jacksonville. They also designed restorations of the Princess Place Lodge in 1999. Jude Costage, PE of Atlantic Engineering Services, was the structural engineer, and Mark Haskins of Powell and Hinkle designed the electrical restorations. They were completed by DeMar Construction of St. Augustine, and Charlie Owen was the restoration manager. And this evening we have Ellie Richardson, a Florida Trust trustee, presenting the Princess Place Stable project with a Meritorious Achievement Award in the Restoration Rehabilitation category, and accepting our Flagler County Board of County Commissioners, Barbara Revels, Chair Nathan McLaughlin, Vice Chair, Commissioners Charles Erickson Jr., Frank McKeer, and George Hannes, and of course also Kenneth Smith of Kenneth Smith Architects. St. Joseph's Mission Schoolhouse for African American Children. The Mandarin Museum and Historical Society, located in the Mandarin area of Jacksonville, led and organized a community effort to save and restore a one-room schoolhouse that was built in 1898. This schoolhouse, the St. Joseph's Mission Schoolhouse for African American Children, was built for the Sisters of St. Joseph in Mandarin to continue their educational mission begun in 1868. The schoolhouse was moved from private property to the City of Jacksonville's Walter Jones Historical Park in January 2015. Restoration and establishment of interpretive exhibits took place over a year's time, culminating in the grand opening of the schoolhouse to the public on April 30th of this year. The historic building, the only remaining one-room schoolhouse in Duval County, will tell several stories about the historic building itself, the education mission of the Sisters of St. Joseph, and the opportunities and challenges to African Americans in obtaining an education post-Civil War. Florida Trust trustee Ryan Malloy is presenting St. Joseph's Mission School for African American Children with an honorable mention. Accepting that is Hope Ferrigno, Board of Directors, Mandarin Museum and Historical Society, for this project. Congratulations. Our next category is adaptive use. And here we have again the Pensacola Lighthouse restoration, but this time it's for the carriage house restoration. In the 1880s, a 20-foot by 25-foot carriage house was built on the grounds of the Pensacola Lighthouse. By the early 2000s, the building had fallen into disrepair. Age, neglect, and numerous hurricanes had left the building twisted and rotting. In 2012, the Pensacola Lighthouse Association began planning a project to restore the historic character and the integrity of the carriage house. Using historic photos and records as a reference, the building was dismantled, its pieces numbered and used in its reconstruction, along with modern materials selected for their similarity to the historic materials. Safe and suitable for habitation once more, the carriage house fulfilled a new purpose as the gift shop of the Lighthouse Museum. The historic carriage house now serves a useful contemporary purpose, all while maintaining its external authenticity. Carter Kina is presenting the award as an honorable mention in the adaptive use category, and accepting the award is John Hill and Jessica Morgan from the Pensacola Lighthouse Association. Voices of Pensacola Multicultural Center. This is a project that tells the stories about the making of Pensacola. Certain individuals are selected so we can hear their voices through their own words, or words of those who knew them, or knew of them. Who were the first Americans? What were they fighting for? In what way did the following influence the founders and the builders? Military, water, nature, music, art, and religion. Pensacola became one of the most culturally diverse cities in America. There was commonality in life's main events, like wars, hurricanes, epidemics, starvation, economic hardship, really positive things here, and poor leadership. It was a time of exploration, here's the positive, discovery, adventure, and change. Voices is open to the stories of all our people and will tell them truthfully and respectfully. Exhibits will reflect the diversity of our people, both past and present. This concept of reflectivity has influenced the design of our new space. Original materials, the authentic, is revealed and reflected in glazed new materials in a manner which highlights the distinction, yet similarity of the old and the new. Florida Trust trustee Lynn Wilson Sporer will present the Voices of Pensacola Multicultural Center with an honorable mention, and accepting it as Rob Overton of the University of West Florida and Carter Kina. And Ross, sorry. And our next category after this is archaeology, Bird Hammock Archaeological Site. The Bird Hammock Archaeological Site includes significant remains of 2 prehistoric cultures, including 2 village sites, each with its own burial mound. It is also a site that has been heavily looted and without federal law enforcement protection was in danger of being destroyed and the information it contains being lost forever. Individuals significant to protecting the site are Dr. Michael Russo and Jeffrey Shanks of the National Park Service's Southeast Archaeological Center for their professional research at the Bird Hammock site, the St. Mark's Refuge Association for successfully securing the donation of the site, and for the St. Mark's National Wildlife Refuge, thereby affording it federal protection, and the Reverend Lila Bird Brown and family for their generous donation of 160 acres of land that includes 85% of this important archaeological site. Bird Hammock is designated a National Historic Place. Bert Bender is presenting the Bird Hammock Archaeological Site Project with an Outstanding Achievement Award in the Archaeology category. Accepting the award is Reverend Lila Bird Brown, Paul Hamilton, Jeffrey Shanks, National Park Service, Southeast Archaeological Center, Mary Smallwood, President, St. Mark's Refuge Association, and Michael Russo, National Park Service, Southeast Archaeological Center. Inventory of archaeological sites and past archaeological investigations in St. Augustine. Archaeological research has been conducted professionally in St. Augustine's colonial downtown district since the late 1930s. This comprehensive body of work has been largely inaccessible due to being scattered throughout various locations in the state of Florida. With the award of a $75,000 grant from the State of Florida Division of Historical Resources, the city of St. Augustine was able to collate the dispersed and disparate information and place it within the State of Florida Master Site File. This effort was facilitated with assistance provided by Archaeological Consultants Incorporated. More than 250 archaeological projects required evaluation, including archaeological surveys, testing, and excavations across 40 city blocks, Plaza East, Plaza West, Anderson, and Ponce Circles, the Kubo Line, and 12 streets. This work resulted in 152 survey log sheets and 50 sites inventoried with the professional level of documentation required by the Florida Master Site File, including Geographic Information Systems data. Florida Trust trustee and immediate past president Rick Gonzalez is presenting the inventory of archaeological sites and past archaeological investigations in St. Augustine project with an Outstanding Achievement Award in the Archaeology category, and accepting the award is Jenny Wolf on behalf of Carl Halbert, City of St. Augustine. Old Fort Park Preservation and Enhancement. In March of 2014, the Fort Pierce Lions Board of Directors agreed to donate to the City of Fort Pierce $30,000 to renovate a park in the city which needed improvements. After discussions, it was decided that Old Fort Park was in great need of investment and community support, especially due to the erosion issues with the preserved AIS mound on site. This project was planned in 2 phases with many adjustments and accommodations along the way due to the historic and sensitive nature of the site. The first phase encompassed the installation of curbing around the existing parking lot and resurfacing of the parking lot, in addition to adding a handicap parking space and placement of a wooden fence along the Indian River Drive. The second phase consisted of the assessment and strategic stabilization to ensure sensitive care to the significant site and preservation as it was incurring substantial erosion. The work began in October of 2014, and approximately 600 yards of clean dirt was applied to the top of the mound, applying at least 6 inches of dirt onto the core mat. Over 600 Dune daisy plants were then placed onto the mound to cover up the dirt and stabilize the mound. This project has taken 2 years in coordination between the Lions Club and the city, and is truly a great accomplishment for this. Florida Trust trustee Sunny Gates is presenting the Old Fort Park Preservation and Enhancement with an honorable mention. Accepting the award are Matthew Samuel. Historic landscape is our next category. Ponce de Leon Courtyard. Flagler College, in their continued efforts to maintain and preserve the Hotel Ponce de Leon, commissioned a design and construction team to research, design, and implement plans to restore the beautiful Ponce de Leon Courtyard. The courtyard landscape renovations included the addition of a variety of trees, palms, accent plants, and flowers that add texture, color, and height variation in the courtyard. The renovation also included repairs to the original coquina block retaining and site walls. The careful cleaning and mortar replacement brought the site walls back to the original appearance. In addition, a team of fine art restoration experts removed mineral deposits and made repairs to the center focal point, the fountain. The Ponce de Leon courtyard improvements have brought back the character of Henry Flagler and his design team's goals for the Hotel Ponce de Leon and its grand courtyard. And our entire awards jury got a whole lecture on Victorian landscapes, which was very enlightening. So it's my pleasure to recognize the Ponce de Leon Courtyard Project as winning an honorable mention award in the category of historic landscape. And representatives from the project were unfortunately not necessarily able to be here, so Ken Smith is accepting it from Linda Stevenson. Moving on to the preservation education / media category. The first award goes to Bartram's Comprehensive Multimedia Educational Strategies. Located in St. Johns County, the William Bartram Scenic and Historic Highway is part of a collection of state and national scenic highways and byways. Some of the overlapping missions between the National Byway and National Scenic Highways and historic preservation programs include heritage education, historic landscapes, and architectural preservation. The final phase of the William Bartram Scenic Highway multi-year project focused on historic education through the development of the Northwest St. Johns County Historic Study and Architectural Survey used to create 12 national public radio scripts and 3 school lesson plans. The lesson plans emphasize the information acquired from the Northwest Historical Study and from 34 oral history interviews, which include a video that summarizes a longtime resident's oral histories and a video of William Bartram's life story. Collectively, the documents and historical information produced from these projects and the resulting educational outreach materials provide engaging and broad-reaching materials that serve to educate the public about the value of history and, of course, historic preservation. Florida Trust trustee Arvo Moore Parks is presenting the Bartram's Comprehensive Multimedia Educational Strategies Project with an Outstanding Achievement Award in the Preservation Education Media category, and accepting the award are Al Apatiello, Chairman, William Bartram, Scenic and Historic Corridor Management Group, Robin Moore, Cultural Resources Coordinator, St. Johns County, Charlie Phillips, Senior Historian, Brockington and Associates, Carol Poplin, Director, the History Workshop, and Vicki Renna, the Project Manager for St. Johns County. Compassionate St. Augustine, Obelisk Art 450, and Compassion Through the Eyes of Children. Compassionate St. Augustine's Obelisk Art 450 International Public Art Initiative pays tribute to the 450th anniversary of the nation's oldest continuously occupied European city and promotes a legacy of compassion in St. Augustine and beyond. It is the first citywide public art project in 450 years. 25 renowned artists who exhibit regionally, nationally, and internationally were selected to create an artwork on 8.5-foot tall wood and fiberglass replicas of the 1812 Spanish Constitution monument on St. Augustine's public square. Artists imaginatively used these blank canvases to interpret 25 historical sites as compelling storylines and the 4 foundational values of the Constitution movement: freedom, democracy, human rights, and compassion. According to the St. Augustine/Pontevedra Visitors and Convention Bureau, all or part of this unique exhibit, known as the OA 450 Tour of Compassion, was potentially viewed by 3.5 million residents and visitors between September 2015 and January 31st of this year. A Florida Trust trustee, Bert Bender, is presenting this award to Jenny Wolf and John Reagan. Jessica Clark. For the past 10 years, Jessica Clark has actively promoted and supported historic preservation efforts and activities in St. Augustine and Florida via broadcast journalism. As the Southern Bureau Chief and weekend anchor for the First Coast News, the local NBC/ABC affiliate in Jacksonville, Florida, her stories have dealt with multiple aspects of the city's rich and varied cultural heritage and its unique and irreplaceable archaeological resources, all of which have reached an unprecedented number of viewers in Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia and nationally. To understand and provide depth to her broadcast, Jessica has dedicated her time and services as a volunteer with the City of St. Augustine's archaeology program. This has given her a unique perspective regarding the fragile and irreplaceable nature of the city's archaeological heritage and a sense of stewardship in preserving those deposits. She also has mentored others in developing media sources that will aid in preserving endangered sites. Florida Trust trustee Richard Forbes is presenting Jessica Clark with a Meritorious Achievement Award in the Preservation Education/Media category. Jessica. Pensacola Lighthouse Restoration, ×3. Here we are, outhouse restoration. The Pensacola Lighthouse and Museum's mission is the preservation of the past to enlighten our future. While our mission is broad, the majority of their efforts are focused on the Pensacola Light Station, the oldest station of its kind in Florida. During its 192 years of existence, the station has gone through many changes and events, including a lightship, 2 lighthouses, Civil War, lightning strikes, and near complete loss and demolition in the 1990s. While the tower and some of the outbuildings were saved, some essential station elements were lost to the bulldozer in 1991. Among the structures lost were the chicken coop, 2 outhouses, a wash house, a porch, and a large cistern. While telling the story of the lighthouse and those who served here, it was apparent that many parts were being left to the imagination. One of the most often asked questions was, what did they do before indoor plumbing was installed in 1939? Well, this was the answer, and now they've restored it, and school children and any other visitor will have the answers to what did they do. Florida Trust trustee Ryan Malloy will present the Pensacola Lighthouse Outhouse Project with an honorable mention award in the Preservation Education Media category, and accepting the award are John Hill and Jessica Morgan on behalf. For organizational achievement, the first award goes to the City of St. Augustine's 450th commemoration. September 8, 2015 marked the 450th anniversary of the founding of St. Augustine, the nation's oldest continuously occupied European settlement. To commemorate this milestone, the city hosted a series of celebrations and projects that spanned over the course of 4 years and culminated with a major music and street festival on Labor Day weekend 2015. The purpose of the commemoration was to highlight St. Augustine's rich history, to celebrate its cultural diversity, and in an entertaining way to promote the awareness of St. Augustine's significance in the history of America and the world. In addition, the commemoration strengthened St. Augustine's status as a heritage tourism destination, contributed to the local and state economies, and improved the quality of life for the residents of the city during and after the commemoration events. Florida Trust trustee Richard Forbes is presenting the award for organizational achievement and outstanding achievement to City Manager John Reagan, to the City of St. Augustine. And hopefully everyone's very familiar with the next project because we were hosted there last night and everybody just enjoyed it so much. It is Goodwood Museum and Gardens Incorporated, Tallahassee. Goodwood is one of Florida's great historic treasures. The main house, with its frescoed ceilings and original furnishings, completed circa 1840, is one of the finest surviving antebellum homes in the state. The 20-acre property also contains 11 historic outbuildings and sprawling heritage gardens. During the Great Recession, it was severely threatened by fiscal instability. The nonprofit organization which operates at Goodwood Museum and Gardens Incorporated rebounded from this financial difficulty through a series of innovative fundraisers and the outstanding support of volunteers and community activists. Its historic buildings and grounds have been or are in the process of being restored. Outreach activities reach thousands of people, including hundreds of school children who visit the property annually. In a unique way of giving back to the community, over 50 regional nonprofit organizations receive free or discounted use of the facilities. The preservation of Goodwood is now on solid footing. Florida Trust trustee Mark Tarmy is presenting the Goodwood Museum and Gardens project with a Meritorious Achievement Award in the Organizational Achievement category, and accepting are Laura Lee Corbett, Fred Gasky, Jennifer Humayan, Nancy Morgan, and Rose Rodriguez, Chair of Goodwood Museum and Gardens. The Riley Arts Center, The Riley Arts Center in Ocala. The City Auditorium was built as a Works Progress Administration project and first opened as a cultural facility for local performing arts. For decades, the auditorium hosted community, cultural, and private events. Over time, the use of the auditorium diminished, and the cost to maintain it far exceeded its revenue, which led to its proposed demolition in 2006. Through Mayor Ewer's Blue Ribbon Committee's recommendation and overwhelming public support, the City Council decided not to allow demolition, but to mothball the building in 2007 and solicit private sector interest. In 2013, the Ocala Symphony Orchestra began working with the city to transform the auditorium into a flagship center for the arts and culture. After a $2.8 million renovation, the Riley Arts Center is an iconic Art Deco building that is as grand today as when it first opened in 1936. Florida Trust trustee Lori Muldowney is presenting the Riley Arts Center project with an honorable mention award in the Organizational Achievement category, and accepting it is Ira Holmes, the chair of the Ocala Historic Preservation Advisory Board. Thank you. We move on to our individual distinguished service awards. This first award is for Chips Shore from Bradenton. For 38 years, R.B. Chips Shore, Manatee County Clerk of Circuit Court and Comptroller, spearheaded numerous historic preservation efforts, helped organize and support 4 local history organizations, educated and encouraged historic preservation and heritage education, and served as the engine for making historic preservation a community priority. Combining his background in finances and technology with his love of his hometown, Shore worked successfully to save and restore 26 buildings, including the 1913 courthouse and 1918 Carnegie Library, a 19th century steam locomotive, several historical boats, and farm equipment. Unfortunately, he did pass away in 2015, but before his death, he realized a lifelong dream of restoring Manatee County's 1913 historic courthouse, recreation of its original courtroom, and the return of its landscaping to a native historic setting. Shore also believed in using innovative ways to educate the public in the importance of historic preservation and often used Manatee County's annual financial reports to highlight that work. Florida Trust trustee Linda Stevenson is presenting this Individual Distinguished Service Award, and accepting it is the family of Chip Shore and Kathy Slusser, Director of Historic Resources, Manatee County Clerk of Circuit Court and Comptroller. The next Individual Distinguished Service Award goes to one of our own trustees, Lori Muldowney from Sarasota. Lori has worn many hats during her career, and there is one thread that held them all together: historic preservation. For 32 years, she worked for the City of Sarasota or Sarasota County, always diligently working to save the irreplaceable. Her list of accomplishments is long and varied. She helped save the historic Siesta Key Summer House restaurant from demolition, while also ensuring that it remained open to the public. She acted as the facilitator and subject matter expert for the rehabilitation of the Gateway Bank, a Jack West creation also scheduled for demolition. And she provided research and content development for the award-winning Tour Sarasota Architecture and Tour Venice Architecture guidebooks. Lori is an excellent example of what can be done if you're willing to put your heart and soul into preserving our past for future generations. She often asks, if not me, then who? Florida Trust immediate past president, Rick Gonzalez, is presenting the Individual Distinguished Service Award to Lori Muldowney. And we have 2 other supporters here for Lori. The Roy E. Graham Award for Excellence in Historic Preservation. This award is named for our friend and colleague, Roy Graham, who served as a trustee of the Florida Trust and who is internationally recognized for his research and teaching. It recognizes an individual who has made a long-term contribution to the field of historic preservation education, ensuring that future generations understand the importance of preservation of the architectural, historical, and archaeological heritage of Florida. This educational role may be at any level of education and is not limited to institutional academic settings. We're very happy to present this award this evening to Linda Stevenson from Bradenton. She is a registered I'm going to tell you a little bit about Linda. She is a registered architect and lead AP. Linda Stevenson received her PhD from the University of Florida in 2011. The following year, the university hired Linda to serve as an adjunct professor in historic preservation. This was the first year of the implementation of a new strategic plan that involved revisions to the curriculum and certain core courses. Linda was instrumental in reaching these goals, including introduction of history and theory of historic preservation. Linda helped recreate the introductory course, balancing the course content to examine historic preservation from both an international and national and statewide perspective. For 4 years, Linda has also taught and strengthened the Preservation Building and Technology class. Each year, the Preservation Practicum course surveys and documents a Florida neighborhood and assesses its potential of a local and state or national landmark district. Since 2012, Linda has served as co-director of the Preservation Institute Nantucket. Linda has also been a mentor to graduate students as part of their thesis research and continues to advise, as many have gone on to work in design with a historic preservation focus, architecture and landscape architecture, cultural resource management, and local government. Many of Linda's students have remained in Florida, focusing on the preservation of the varied and many resources of the Sunshine State. And Florida Trust trustee Marty Hilton will be presenting the Roy E. Graham Award to Linda Stevenson. And now it's my honor to turn the program over to Secretary of State Ken Detzner, and we're going to have an exciting part of our program include their Preservation Awards, which is hopefully just the first of many collaborations.
Well, I'm not going to read from the chapter of Isaiah as they've got me pointed out here, so you don't have to worry about that, and I'm not hearing any confessions this evening. Being Catholic, I don't think the Presbyterians hear that, but I want to thank everyone for being here. You know, I've never been in this beautiful building, and it's really quite a tribute to this community and to the parishioners that practice here to have something so special in our capital city. So thank you, everyone, and hello. It's my great pleasure to be with you this evening. Gosh, I feel like it's almost like a class reunion. I know so many of the people that are here, and I'm so thankful for all the things that the people have done here. But you know, you're starting to get older when you start to see awards for historic preservation buildings that you lived in. And so I'm getting a little worried, but that's the fact. I used to live in Goodwood Plantation for 5 years. And I lived there. That's true. It was really was something that got me started in my deep appreciation for historic preservation. So next year, if I come back and there's another building that they've restored, I'm really going to be worried. So, but part of that experience at living at Goodwood was a result of many people giving me opportunities. But I can't go at any event where one of my closest personal friends, mentors, and people that I owe almost everything to in the success of my life, my mentor, friend, former Secretary of State and his wife, Jim and Carol Smith are here tonight. Jim, would you stand up, say hello? Carol, thank you. You know, they encouraged me throughout the years to pursue the kind of excellence that I try to model myself after every day as a Secretary of State, and there's not a day that goes by in decisions that you make in elections or cultural heritage or historic preservation that I don't think about Jim Smith and the way he made decisions, and I'm so ever grateful for the standards, ethics, and morals that he instilled in me, and I really, Jim, thank you so much. So this year we mark the 50th anniversary of the passage of the National Historic Preservation Act and celebrate the achievements of the historic preservation here in Florida. This anniversary is being commemorated nationwide through the Preservation 50 initiative, which aims to strengthen the historic preservation efforts, educate the public, and tell the story of historic preservation value to all people in the United States here in Florida. At the department, we have launched our own preservation theme entitled There's a Story Here, to speak to Florida's unique contributions to historic preservation. Florida's first state historic preservation officer was appointed in 1967 when Florida Historic Preservation Resource Act was passed, establishing preservation responsibilities within the Department of State and the state archives. Since that time, many individuals have contributed to the important work being done to preserve or promote our state's historic resources. You know, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I don't think that anyone ever contemplated that we would come together as a community of historic preservation individuals who appreciate that and do the kind of restorations that are happening all throughout the state of Florida. There's a renaissance of historic preservation occurring, and to see the young professional architects, lawyers, designers here tonight to see what they're doing with all of these fantastic buildings. This morning we started off looking at buildings that are at risk around the state of Florida. And I hope that next year and the year after that, we'll be commemorating and honoring those architects, the people that are restoring those buildings. It's happening. People are recognizing the value of that, not only to the heritage of their own communities, but the economic value of restoring those in our small communities, in our large communities, in urban areas. And so thank you all for what you're doing. Florida's changing. We need to preserve these things, and you all are at the very epicenter of doing that. And I am so thankful as your Secretary of State that it is changing. I'm having an opportunity to witness that. And years from now, people will look back and remember what Florida was like in these days and in days past. So thank you. At this time, I'd like to welcome Dr. Timothy Parsons, the Director of the Division of Historical Resources, to the stage to continue with this evening's award presentation. And bless you all.
First, I have to say it is a tremendous amount of fun to be standing up here in this church on top of this lectern. If my brother could see me, he would say he's amazed that lightning isn't striking me down right now. But no, in all seriousness, what a beautiful building. This is great. And thank you to Secretary Detzner, and thank you to all of you for the incredible support that I've gotten over the last couple of months. I know a lot of people were shocked and surprised when my predecessor left and moved on to a great new opportunity for him. And I was really humbled when the secretary asked me to step in first on an interim basis and then to accept the position on a more permanent basis, because the story of my career is full of unexpected twists and turns. I've done a lot of Hungarian archaeology and learned Hungarian and did a whole bunch of things with the National Park Service and ended up landing at the Department of State, and I couldn't be happier to be doing it. I come from a compliance background, and I never expected to be doing it, and as some of you might have gotten the impression from my talks yesterday and today, my perspective on preservation, not just in Florida, but around the country, might be a little bit different and a little bit maybe, hopefully not making anybody too uncomfortable, but hopefully maybe sparking some new ideas, or if not new ideas, at least maybe encouraging people to think of what we do in a slightly different light. And I just want to reiterate that from here, since I have the opportunity and I have a captive audience. I want to do that whenever I can. So yes, exactly. I just want to encourage everyone to continue being creative. Thank you so much for all the good work you're doing. Whatever we can do at the division to help, just let us know. And now I have the really great honor of helping present the 2016 Secretary of State Preservation Awards, beginning with the Senator Bob Williams Award. The Senator Bob Williams Award is named for the individual who created the framework for historic preservation in our state and served as Florida's first state historic preservation officer from 1967 to 1980. The award is presented to a public employee whose service is so exceptional that it has changed the course of historic preservation in our state. And it's my pleasure this year to announce that the recipient of the 2016 Senator Bob Williams Award is Dr. Janet Snyder Matthews. And Dr. Matthews, would you please join us on stage? Dr. Matthews is a historian, author, and nationally recognized leader in historic preservation. Her legacy of public service includes serving as Florida's Historic Preservation Officer and Director of the Division of Historical Resources. She also served as Associate Director of Cultural Resources and Keeper of the National Register of Historic Places at the U.S. National Park Service in Washington, D.C. While at NPS, Dr. Matthews helped produce a new programmatic agreement for compliance with Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act. I have a soft spot in my heart for that. Her accomplishments included working to confirm the significance of the Captain John Smith Chesapeake National Historic Trail, the first national water trail, and accelerated the digitization of the National Register of Historic Places. Dr. Matthews currently teaches at the University of Florida, where she's helping guide the next generation of preservation leaders. And I have to say, on a personal level, every year Dr. Matthews brings her students to Tallahassee, to the division, for us to learn from them and from them to learn from us. And we brought some of them on board as employees at the Division of Historical Resources, and so she really has an investment in seeing her students succeed, and she should be commended for that. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating our award winner for the Senator Bob Williams Award, Dr. Janet Snyder Matthews. And now it's my honor to continue on and present the Mary Call Darby Collins Award. The Mary Call Darby Collins Award is named for Florida's former First Lady, whose devotion to historic preservation and the restoration of her ancestral home, the Grove, was legendary. The award is presented to a volunteer whose passion for historic preservation has changed the face of Florida. And I'm pleased to announce that the recipient of the 2016 Mary Call Darby Collins Award is the Honorable Ron Richmond. Ron, will you please come on stage? Leader Richmond's legacy of volunteerism and advocacy on behalf of Florida's historic capital has ensured that the future of this beautifully restored icon of Florida history is in good hands. For the past 15 years, he has served as chair of the Speaker's Advisory Committee on Historic Preservation and its current form as the Historic Capitol Museum Council. In that role, he has successfully advocated for bills that established a governance structure for the Historic Capitol's operations and created a foundation to promote its continued support. Thanks to his efforts, the Historic Capitol has been refurbished with a new roof and dome, among other improvements. With extraordinary dedication and commitment to the cause, this former minority leader of the Florida House of Representatives has applied his knowledge of Florida's political process to ensure that the preservation of this cherished symbol of Florida's political history is available for generations to come. Please join me in congratulating the winner of the 2016 Mary Call Darby Collins Award, the Honorable Ron Richmond. Congratulations to both of our award winners, Ron and Jan, and on behalf of everyone here, thank you both for your efforts to preserve and protect Florida's history. Thank you.
All right, we're going to bring this in for a landing. Everybody's been good. We've gotten there just about on time. I hear the drinks are being chilled. This is good. This is good. We sincerely appreciate Secretary of State and staff participating in this and helping, expand these honors, and we really do appreciate that. My job is to bring it in with the last two awards, which are our highest awards that are offered or presented on behalf of the Florida Trust. The first is the Carl Weinhardt Award. It is named in honor of the first director of the Bonnet House, and the award recognizes an individual's lifelong achievements in leadership in state and national arenas and service to Florida's trust. The Carl Weinhardt Award is given to an individual to recognize his or her significant achievements in leadership in non-governmental state and historic preservation arenas. This year, it is not an individual. It goes to a group. It is the Villagers. The Villagers is Miami-Dade County, Florida's oldest historic preservation organization dedicated to restoration and preservation of historic sites. Founded in 1966, the not-for-profit is a hands-on, grassroots, all-volunteer group. More than $1.4 million has been given to 60 local organizations to fund college scholarships to students studying historic preservation. The Villagers fund preservation efforts with a variety of events and projects such as popular house and garden tours, historic hunt, Miami-themed quilt raffle, attic treasures boutique, and a number of handmade products members produce and sell at various annual events. Special publications have proved to be successful fundraisers, and latest Villager publications, The Gardens of Miami, a full-color coffee table book, will be off the press this spring. Throughout 2016, more than 200 villagers are celebrating 50 years of saving places. And don't be bashful, come on up and accept our recommendation.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Mary Burke, and I'm the current president of the Villagers. And from all Villagers, past, present, and future, we thank you very much for this honor.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our final award is the Evelyn Fortune Bartlett Award, named in honor of Evelyn Fortune Bartlett, the patron of Bonnet House, and this is the Trust's most prestigious award for an individual. The award honors a person whose life exemplifies the guardianship of Florida's historic properties through philosophy and actions. This is going to be a little long because I want in this place to think about this as this is our nomination for her sainthood. This year's Evelyn Fortune Bartlett Award goes to Artemis Barnes of Tallahassee. Please come forward. Artemis possesses a passion for history and is quintessential preservationist, instructing through deeds so more than words. After 30 years of dedicated service, Ms. Barnes retired from the Department of Education in 1995. At a time when most would have relaxed, she uncovered her true passion and plunged herself into preserving the legacy of John G. Riley, who was born a slave but later became principal of the original Lincoln High School, now the Lincoln Neighborhood Center. Ms. Barnes founded the John G. Riley Museum in 1996. She lobbied for and secured legislative funding for the House, also played a part and consulted on the newly opened Cascades Park, which is a wonderful place. The Florida African American Heritage Preservation Network is a statewide professional association organized in 2001 by Ms. Barnes. In '96, out of concern for African American museums that did not appear to be engaged in conventional preservation initiatives, she used her contacts to identify African American heritage museums and historic sites operating in other parts of the state. By '97, she had located several such organizations and began planning a statewide conference which brought together and engaged more than 125 participants in brainstorming sessions which addressed mainstream preservation programs and initiatives, as well as the need for African American museums to become more involved. It is out of that first conference that the Florida African American Heritage Preservation Network was formed. In 2012, she was honored by appointment by President Barack Obama as an appointee to the Institute of Museum and Library Services Board. She has authored numerous books about African American history, helped to establish Blended Lives, a 4-day cultural immersion experience for all 4th graders attending Leon County Public Schools, and instituted an after-school program at Riley Elementary School to empower and enhance the academic excellence of 4th and 5th grade students. In addition to her work in the preservation field, she graciously serves on the following boards: the Florida National Register Review Board, Tallahassee Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, American Alliance of Museums, Florida Heritage Foundation, Florida Association of Museums, Association of African American Museums, National Trust for Historic Preservation. A former music instructor for Leon County Schools, Ms. Barnes earned her bachelor's degree from Florida A&M University. She refuses to rest on her laurels and risk the loss of cultural identity among current and future generations. She is committed to educating these such that we never forget the countless pioneers who made life better for us all. Please join me in congratulating Ms. Barnes for her great achievements.
This is such an honor, such an honor. I really appreciate it. And when you said it's going to take a long time, that sort of begins to take me back in time. When I saw Dr. Matthews walk in tonight, Janet Snyder Matthews, I sort of cut my teeth on Dr. Matthews with the Riley House. She did a lot there. And my first experience at a National Trust conference was because of Dr. Janet Snyder Matthews. She sponsored me to a conference in Albuquerque, Mexico, and we haven't looked back. So I thank so many of you. Some I've served on the panel, the grant review panels with, and Fred Gask and others with Goodwood Museum and Gardens, and it is just a thrill. All that I've done, it's to help make sure that a very important part of the history of our state is not forgotten. I have about 15 of our network directors coming in on Wednesday for a professional development field session, and we have this conference every other year, but throughout the year, we try to keep everybody engaged and doing all that we can to support the initiatives of the Florida Department of State, as well as the local governments across the state. So again, I thank you so much. This is indeed an honor. Thank you.
We got through it, so I congratulate all of us, our presenters, everybody that worked through this. We're just about done. This is great. This is what we call the benediction. I can't believe this is great. This is a great place for a benediction. So thank you all for your leadership. Thank you, Secretary of State Kent Didster and Smith and Dr. Parsons, Dr. Matthews, Mr. Richmond. Thank you for all your public service. To the elected officials here who came here tonight, thank you for what you do and for your public service in your communities. The city managers and city administrators and planners who came before us tonight, take this back to your community as validation that you are doing, in fact, the right thing. Thank you to the volunteers that are in this room that have worked in your local communities to make your communities a better place. Thank you collectively to all of you who are committed to this cause of historic preservation, because this is about fighting for the soul of our state, fighting for the soul of our communities, fighting for our collective memories of what brought us to this place, and fighting to provide and protect a legacy for those who will follow us. So let's leave here. Let's celebrate our successes. Let's compliment one another. We'll pat each other on the back. Thank you for all you do. Now let's move forward. I guess the buses will be out there out front to take us to the museum. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you all for being here.